everyone, it's me, it's Issa, as told by a widow. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all the other good, loving, wonderful, and peaceful greetings. Well, every year I always, um, try to get in here and check on you, everyone during the holidays. And I'm back at it again in 2022. This time, I won't bother having you all watch me wrap some gifts because when I rewatched that video, I could take a couple of classes in gift wrapping. So I decided I would not bore you all with that. But anyway, how's it going? And I know that question is really, it's a very heavy question depending on where you are on your grief journey. Okay. And also, I want to know not just how you're doing, where are you on your grief journey? That's something for each of us to, from time to time, to assess for ourselves. Where are we on this journey? That self-assessment piece I always talk about. Being honest with yourself, So, with that being said, I did the same thing for myself. So, recently, the phrase survivor's remorse resurfaced. And it just stayed with me. And just with me doing a assessment, of myself, I was listening to someone and when she said survivor's remorse, and it just stuck with me. So when I was journaling the other day, and just basically we're doing some reassessments for myself, just so I can know where I am on my grief journey. It caused me to think about, like, wow, survivor's remorse. What does that mean to me now in 2022? Because survivor's remorse almost 12 years ago meant something totally different to me, to my children, actually to my entire environment. Excuse me. And just so you understand what I'm saying, for example, during the first few years when my husband passed away, my daughters gave me the work. Prior to my husband passing, I didn't have any issues with my girls. None. Now, grant you, like I said, I got my children professional counseling very early, like within my friend file, a wonderful organization, in less than a month. However, it wasn't until, someone had mentioned to me survivor's remorse early on, although I wasn't getting therapy for myself. I want to say the term came to me one day. I picked them up from one of their sessions, groups bereavement sessions, and I was like, oh wow. And as I recall, it just came to me. Another parent was, I had walked upon another set of parents waiting for their children as well. And they were just talking about how the children were just attacking them for no reason. And when I say attack, not physically, like the children just felt like they couldn't do it, that the surviving parent was just always wrong and they could never do anything right. And that's when one of the parents spoke about survivor's remorse. And I was just thinking like, wow, I can relate to that. Because like I said early on, my girls, oh my goodness, I don't eat that. I never did that. And I'm like, I've been cooking like this for you since you were a child. I don't eat it. I don't eat that anymore. When? Since when? I just don't. That was one of my daughters. Actually, that was both of them. And it was like I just could not do anything right. And it's the same stuff I had been doing before my husband passed away. I wasn't introducing anything new to them after my husband passed away because I just didn't have energy, honestly. But that was what survivor's remorse looked like for me for the first few years. It was my daughter's way of projecting their anger and confusion toward the only one they felt safe doing that to. And that was me. Because they knew I wasn't going to retaliate. If anything, I would probably, you know, discipline them, like take a privilege away or put them on restrictions or something like that. But they felt safe doing that. And to help anyone that's going through something similar as that, I would suggest set some clear and defined boundaries with your children and understand what survivor's remorse means and have a one-on-one with their therapist and let them know what is going on, because that's one thing for the children to have a relationship with their therapist, but it's also very key that you also have a relationship with them as well, because I did. Because the children just not going to tell everything, and the therapists know that as well, right? And so, and honestly, they have a really good one. I will sit with them, from time to time in the beginning, and then I'll leave, and then they'll stay and talk. And so make sure that you can work that in with your therapist when it comes to your children's professional mental health plan, that they are also getting your input as well as as to what's going on, okay? Because it helps the therapist see a well-rounded picture of how to set up a health plan and strategy for the children and also for you to some extent, okay? Because the goal is to make the children heal and whole again, and also bring peace to you in the process. Because although they're going through survivor's remorse, you as a parent do not deserve to be a punching bag or insulted as they heal. And that's from anyone. So I was told, and it worked out. You set some clear boundaries, say this is not acceptable behavior, and you stand behind them. I remember my oldest daughter, you know, my husband and I had already told her about wearing makeup. So when my husband passed away, I stuck to that. And she would just wear it anyway. And I was okay. Okay, so you're just going to totally disregard the rules that were set prior to your dad transitioning. And then you're going to wear it in my face now that he's not here as if I don't matter. No. No, I deserve the same amount of peace and harmony as I provide for you. So I set down some clear rules. You violate them, there are restrictions. And believe me, on top of grieving and having to manage all your old responsibilities and the new responsibilities, you take on those new responsibilities that were typically those of your spouse. It's exhausting, but you have to do it. It's for the betterment of everyone involved. Because I remember I would, like have to talk with my daughters about an issue. I mean, like and they're going to violate those boundaries. And I had to be like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do this. And there's no deviation. And I stuck with them. They would go to their room like, oh, you just being unreasonable. And I was like, yeah, you're being mean and I haven't done anything to you. So we would both end up going to our rooms and cry, And I remember my oldest son at the time was like 4 and 5. And, of course, I had my newborn. He was, about a year or two. They would get really upset with the girls because now I am crying. And, he was really upset. Stop making my mama cry. I was like, it's okay. But that did not change the outcome of the restrictions. So if you're going through that right now, have patience, set those clearly defined rules, stand behind them, and follow through. And also, you maintain or develop a relationship with your children's therapist. And if you have a therapist who don't think that that's important, then you may want to find one that does. And typically, family therapists, that's what they require anyway. So, let's bring it more current, right? Survivor's remorse for me lately. Excuse me, y'all. I haven't, but anyway. Survivor's remorse for me lately has been this like bitter sweet part of my life. And when I say bittersweet, it's like, for instance, I set goals and when my husband was living. And when my husband transitioned, I tried to work and I wasn't able to keep my footing. So I strategically stepped away from work to focus on my healing and the healing of my children, and to find some form of balance, of my own rhythm, of life. I had to rediscover, like I said, and discover my new self, okay? All while raising my children, budgeting, and it has its challenges, but I had to do it, So lately, after when I say lately, as years progressed, I ended up getting professional counseling, which was the best thing I could have ever done. Okay. That's why I am very intentional on encouraging each of you to reach out for professional healing in this process. I don't care what your level of education, I don't care what your expertise, it doesn't matter. This is a matter of the heart, the spirit, um, the tangibles as well, because there's a lot of financial things that had to be taken care of, legalities, you know, and mental stability that is involved. And these don't, everything that I just mentioned, from the emotional, mental legalities and employment gaps and all of this happens at one time. It's not like you do one, then it's the next one. For me, it was like all at one time. And they were all mingled up, fragmented together. And I had to kind of like pull them apart, okay, this is legal. This is not legal. Okay, this is legal and emotional. You have to watch the video about the legal and emotional. I think I did like almost an hour. And just real quick, just to let you know what legal and emotional meant for me, was when certain benefits began to come my way. It was so hurtful because although I needed those financial benefits to help support my family, but those meant that it was a done deal that my husband was gone. That Crown Vic with that FBI agent in it with the ugly suit coming to reunite me with my husband was not going to happen. You remember that mental out that I created for myself early on? So that's what I mean, legality and emotions. So some items or events in your life can be both. Okay. But anyway, I had all that together to pull them apart, separate them, and I would have to prioritize which one came before the other. And some of them has to be done together, and do all of that and still maintain in the present, stay in the present moment, right? Without losing your mind. So that's why it takes someone outside of yourself to tap you on the shoulder. Consider it like a personal assistant, if you need to see it that way. To tap you on your shoulder and say, hey, let me help you file these, okay, and prioritize these for you. And that's what a therapist does for you, if that helps, okay? So back to the goals that I set. So as I became more intentional on my healing and getting more clarity and managing my emotions and my healing journey, I began to see things clearly. I began to develop my own rhythm. And that is key to find a therapist who knows where they begin and they end. Because, like I said, I was pretty good. I went through, well, the one I have now, I had it for a while. The first one was good, but we didn't really click. You follow me? And that's okay too, because that's why it's always good to have options, okay? Um, so I developed my own rhythm that worked for me. And as my life began to change, how I moved was dependent upon what I wanted, not what my therapist wanted, but what I needed and what I desired. Okay. And my therapist began to become my, I guess, somewhat manager. I let her manage. She was my personal assistant, you know. So I began to start back on my goals. Once I had everything arranged and prioritized, and I had followed my rhythm, I was able to find space for me. And I began on my goals list. And one of them was to run a marathon. I think I did share it with y'all. You all on a throwback Thursday, because then my daddy was in my book. I ran my first marathon. And then I wanted to finish graduate school. So I started and I graduated with high honors. Yes. And I was able to do all this by managing my daughters and my children's, lives. And I've always been a writer. I love to write. One of my goals, um, is to pursue a career, a very successful career, career down that path as well. So after I accomplished, I go the marathon and my, excuse me, graduated from graduate school. And then I published 4 books. Now, the 4 books that I published, there were goals that weren't on my list when my husband passed away. However, being a writer was, right, a creator. And then 4 years ago, I started a YouTube channel, a content creator. And definitely that wasn't a goal 12 years ago, of course, right? But look at me, I'm doing it. And just recently, something that my husband and I discussed was creating a design firm, a event, management company. And I successfully finished an accreditation, international accreditation for my firm. I launched I haven't done an official launch yet. I felt, when I looked back, I was like so amazed at what I've accomplished during the time that my husband had passed, transitioned. And at the same time, there was this sense of survivor's remorse that kicked in. I was like, oh my goodness. And in one of my videos, my most recent ones, I can't recall which one. I think it's the one I said I did a thing, but I'm not quite sure. And as I thought about it, it was like every time I accomplished one of the goals that I set with my husband, it was like a cord that was being cut, like an energetic connection that I still had with my husband. I guess me here in the, I don't know, like 3D and he was in the 5D, I don't know. Or I'm in the present, he's in heaven, or whatever, whatever you believe, right? And I could feel it. I was like, oh. I was like, okay. I didn't like that feeling. And then when I successfully accomplished another goal, I felt that same feeling again. It was like as if he was getting distant from me, right? On an energetic level, spiritual level. So when I heard this lady mention survivor's remorse, I was like, I wonder is that what I'm starting to feel? Is what survivor's remorse feels like for me now today in 2022? And I was like, I don't want to lose the little bit of a connection that I have with him, you know? But at the same time, it's like something in my spirit is saying, this has to happen, you know? And I pushed back. I was like, well, let me accomplish the goals, but can I keep the connection? Like, I don't think that's asking too much. And I kid you not, it was like God's spirit was like, it has to happen this way. And when it came to the very last one, when I say I did a thing, and that was the finishing up on my international certification for my design firm, I was in tears. That's why I said I introduced this or segue into this conversation with survivor's remorse. Has its bittersweet moments. It was sweet accomplishing the program because it means a whole lot for my business, y'all. But at the same time, it was just like I knew that I was going to get that feeling again, and I was going to be even more distant from him. That energetic connection that we have was going to dissipate, you know? So when it happened, it did. It was just like, phew. Now it didn't hurt, but each and every time it felt like I didn't feel drained. If anything, I felt lighter. But at the same time, I didn't want to feel that type of light. I liked what I was feeling. But every time I felt it, it was strong enough for me to be like, I felt lighter. There was an element of peace that came with it. I can't say it was an element of joy, but there was an element of peace every time that energetic cord was cut or it dissipated. All right. And I was just like, wow. So I had this conversation with myself, an assessment last week. And I was like, okay. I feel so much lighter. That's what I told myself. But at the same time, I feel so distant from my husband. And there was a part of me saying, that's okay. You still have all the memories. It's okay. So, with that being said, everything that I could possibly think of, because I began to write accomplishments and things like that. even traveling by myself was something I always wanted to do. And that's something I did, and I chronicled it when I went to Vegas the opening weekend to see Usher at Caesar Palace all by myself, you know? And that was one of those chords. That was one of those energetic chords was cut. So this video is dedicated to letting you know that survivor's remorse is real. And it can, depending on where you are in your grief journey, I covered 2 instances that were real to my life. Survivor's remorse on one end of the spectrum, with early on, how it felt and what it meant, to include, my children. And what survivor's remorse began to mean to me over the last few years, as I accomplished goals that I set when my husband was living. And I've completed all of those. So in the last 2 weeks, I've had these moments of these spiritual and energetic lifting. And it seems like I have more space for other things. I do. So I made a decision. I'm not procrastination. I made a decision. This decision was so definite to the point where I even went back and reread the chapter. I think it's the chapter 7. Or chapter 8. I can't remember. Think and Grow Rich. I went back and read it about making a decision, calling upon the Spirit, okay, and make a decision. Make it quick and don't change it. So I did. Because I have room and I have energy to pursue it and make it mine. Yeah. So when you feel like you're doing something that is right, like accomplishing goals, living life, and you feel sad about it. And that's all I was doing. I was accomplishing goals that I had set when my husband was living. He would be so proud of me right now, And I didn't. And as I was accomplishing them, I was feeling sad on a lot of levels, but yet lighter, And I was feeling sad because I wanted him to be here with me to experience these accomplishments, And that's okay. But I want you to understand that don't delay or suppress or ignore any goals that are positive and good to you and that you want so bad, just to hold on to those energetic spiritual connections that you have with your spouse. Don't deny yourself, because your spouse, your mate, would want you to do those things. They will be so happy for you. And they are. Because I'm telling you, like I said, it was bitter but sweet, and it was freeing to me. It was uplifting. Okay? And I'm not telling you you're going to get on board with what I'm saying right now, because it took me, like I said, a few years of accomplishing these goals. And as I accomplished them, and because I'm in counseling, and I also, like I said, I use my books because those questions are, the things that cause me to assess my life, because I'm intentional on my growth. I'm intentional on my continued healing. I'm intentional on my success overall, just as you should. Okay? And that came to me. I mean, this lady said survivor's remorse once, and it stuck with me. That was nobody but God. Because it was time for me to address that issue for myself. And that's why I'm here to share what my breakthrough, okay, with survivor's remorse in 2022, almost 12 years later. All right? So, yep, I made a decision. Not gonna tell you, not yet. So, I did another thing. And this is from my new list of goals, from my newly discovered me. You know? Life is good, y'all. And for those that are watching now and you're early in your grief journey, you're going to get through it. Where I am now is a journey. And listen to me, you're going to get through it. Because where you are, I've been there on some level, in some shape, form, or modality. I have. All the way to the creating illusions to I'm writing a book about that. Yes, I am. I've already made a decision on it. I just add that to my list tonight. But I will tell you, laughter is contagious. And remember now, I challenge each of you to be intentional on your joy. Try changing your ringtone to that somebody's laughing. I changed mine to a little baby laughing many, many years ago, even before I went into counseling, to just help bring in some positive. And I would just play it and just start laughing myself. I even bought me a teacup set with little emojis, happy emojis, different facial expressions on them. This also said, don't worry, be happy, So if anything, know that you're going to get through it. And at any time during this process, things become too heavy, too overwhelming, pick up the phone and dial 911, okay? Here in the United States, or 211 or 311, depending on, different municipalities, cities, and things like that, or all three. And they will get you to someone that can help you, because you deserve it. Those that love you deserve you whole and healed. So do not deny yourself access to healthy healing. Whether you believe you deserve it or not, don't. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for the ones that you know that need you, the ones that love you. Do it for them. After a while, you'll catch on. And you'll do it for yourself. You know, we start loving ourselves again. We get excited about life again. You will. I promise you that. So watch my videos and please support the channel. It's I can get, of course, having a YouTube channel for people that are going through some of the most hurtful and heartbreaking conditions of life, death. It's not something anyone is just running to watch. But for those of you that do watch, I see you watching. Hit the thumbs up button, please. And, share the video. And, of course, purchase my books as well. That helps support me and to really just support anyone who is on this journey. Because it's not a if, it's a remember what it. Death is a natural promise. It's really a beautiful gift. Death is that cheerleader of life that says stay focused on right now. It's as if our Creator, God, or universal spirit, or higher self, whoever feeds you spiritually, had twins, one called birth and the other one called death. And God, our Creator, loved them both. Birth is cheering you on through life. Death is cheering you on to stay focused on life. You follow me? It took me 12 years to figure that out for me. So, I love you guys. And, wow, no more survivor's remorse. All right. Happy holidays. And if nobody told you, but I know they did. And if they hadn't yet, and if they have not, I love you and I believe in you. And I support your healthy healing. Do you understand? So, happy holidays. Yep, I made a decision. I even pulled out my old book by Napoleon Hill for inspiration. Even he talked about, and I'm going off on a tangent, calling upon the Spirit and making a decision. So I called upon the Spirit of God in me, and I said, this is what I want to do. I know where I'm going now. So take that. Yay. Bye.